welcome everybody. Welcome everyone to the meeting tonight. I'm really excited for this meeting. I was able to go down and spend some time with Joe and his wife. My wife and I did a year or so ago, and check out this beautiful home he has and all the wonderful things that he has in it to save energy and everything. And the only thing I wanted to mention to people before we get started is I wanted to tell people that the uh, solar tour for MRES is coming up first weekend in October. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event, and there'll be their information is on MRES's website, mnrenewables.org, which you use to get to this meeting. And you can check out where some of the places are there'll be in person and there'll be virtual. And then some people will be doing both. And it's a 3-day event nowadays. It used to be a 1-day event, but now it's 3 days. And so some of the sites will be open all 3 days, and some will be just maybe 1 day or one afternoon. So you'll have to kind of pick and choose what you'd like to see if you want to go out and check it out. So it's really good. And speaking of that, this beautiful home that Joe and Mary have put together here, they were on the tour and they're on the national tour. And Joe has got a really interesting way to tell people what he's got by using a sign out front of his place with a QR code, which is pretty exciting. So Mary and Joe are environmentalists. Mary's life calling has been working with drying food and writing books. And Joe was the founding director of Eagle Bluff Environmental Learning Center, a residential environmental learning center near Lanesboro, where this home is located. And they built their forever home that will last probably a lifetime, the way everything is in that home. And the goal of theirs is to live sustainably and fossil free as much as possible. So with that, Joe and Mary, take it away from here, okay?
Uh, Thanks, Doug, and welcome to the other MRES people sitting in on this. We're going to show you a brief video, then a Google Slides program, and then some information on a deep energy reduction retrofit we did in our previous residence. So before we get started, uh, my wife Mary has been a partner in all of this. Our marriage survived the deep energy reduction retrofit, which was supposed to take 3 to 6 months and took closer to 18. It was a touch and go there for a while. We ended up spending a couple of nights off site, or a couple of nights, like 2 or 3 weeks. Uh, so we've been through a lot together and putting these things together. That the deep energy reduction retrofit that we did taught us sustainable energy concepts and got us involved with people who are doing that. And once that was completed, we then helped them design and consulted with them on new people on building their off-the-grid sustainable homes. And then as we were designing our new home, they all chipped in and made recommendations. So windows were recommended by one company, a couple, and another was the Arctic heat pump. And we, in 2016, when you could sign up for a Tesla Model 3, we got in line at 4 o'clock in the morning for a 10 o'clock sign up, and we were the 30th people to sign up for a Model 3 and the first in the Midwest to get a long range all-wheel drive Model 3. And we waited 28 months, 10 days, and 4 hours to get it. So we knew there was a waiting curve on this process. And when we decided to build our house in December of 21, we found out in January that solar shingles were now being available in the Midwest. So we contacted Greenway Solar. You can see right up here on the screen, who was the on the upper left-hand corner, who was the Midwest installer and told them that we wanted to put a down payment on some solar shingles to get in the queue. And they said, well, great, send us your house plans. We did not have any. We did not even have a site located at that time. So they allowed us to put money down on solar shingles on a house that we didn't have and a site that we didn't have. But that proved to be advantageous because the following fall, when we were ready to install the shingles, we were in the queue to get it done. So that's somewhat how crazy I am, and Mary has allowed me to be in order to do some of these things. So we're going to start off with watching this video. So if you go to Greenway Solar's website, you can see their website. And if you go to their blog, click on blog, it takes you to this page and it tells you about our home. There you can see it in Lanesboro. So obviously we're looking west, north to the right, south here. So we have a south facing roof. On the north, it's all just metal roofing. And if you scroll down, it has some wonderful things to say about what we did. And then there's this video. So we're going to play this video. And later on in the program, as Doug mentioned, we have a QR code at the end of our driveway. You can actually, we'll stop at some point and you can scan the QR code, but you can just go to Greenway Solar's website. So I'm going to start this up and then I'm going to, let's see, make it screen size and play this.
Personality or something. My name is Mabel, and this is my husband, Joe Deden, and we are people that believe in sustainable living, and we wanted to build a house that was as environmentally correct as we possibly could.
The United Nations recommends, if you are building a home, there are 3 things you should consider. Having a local source of power, whether they be wind or solar, having a backup battery, and having a heat pump. Those are the 3 things you can do to address global climate change.
This house was designed by a committee with lots of good people with background and experience. We believe in Tesla's corporate vision of creating a more sustainable planet. We got a hold of Greenway Solar, a Tesla certified installer for the Midwest area. And then we worked with Aurora software to position the house on the site so we got maximum solar benefit. Between the roof and the garage, our system generates 32 kilowatts of power. We have a SPAN smart electric panel. A smart panel is something that can be controlled remotely. It also allows us to monitor home usage. We have a car charger in our garage, and that is our #1 energy use. Then the heating system is second, the water heater is third. My office, with just the computer and printer, is our 4th largest energy user in this home. So this is our Arctic air-to-water heat pump. It heats and cools the whole building. It's rated at 2.5 tons. This uses water to take either the heat or the cool this into the house, and water is a much more energy efficient transfer mechanism. Good down to 22 below. So the advantage of having an airtight house is it takes less to heat it in the wintertime and it takes less to cool it in the summertime. This is a Zender energy recovery operator. It's a Swiss system. These tubes in the walls, or you can see them overhead, go to the air handling vents in the building. The installation was flawless and went well. They have electricians that are busy hooking this all together, making sure that each shingle is running, and they also make sure that each run of shingles is hooked together in series and working. Power comes down off the roof, and you can see these are labeled solar, PV, direct current circuit. So the direct current comes down into the inverters where it's converted to alternating current. It goes out into the gateway outside. The gateway then sends it back into the span smart panel here, where it's used for the house, to the battery, or off to the grid. The backup battery is 13.5 kilowatts. In the summer, we've gone 3.5 days with no grid power. So we're charging our car, we're heating our house, we're having all the electric benefits.
And our system is making us money. We just simply decided to pay ahead. For us, it was how to live as environmentally correct as we possibly could, to eliminate fossil fuels as much as we could. We bought our future.
All right, so that gives you a little an overview on what we did. And this is a Google slide presentation that we'll step through. So this was last year, we received a notice that we were one of the top energy producers here in the country, and we were also one of the top energy exporters. So we're producing more energy, twice as much energy as we consume, which was the PowerPoint or the shirt that we wore when we went off to the American Solar Energy Conference this August out in Colorado. So this kind of gives you the data that we produced 92 over a 2-year time period, 92 megawatts of power. The house used 42. And then car charging was 11, what we exported, what our net grid usage was, how many power outage events that we have. So you can see all the data here. So the problem with solar energy in Minnesota is December and January. And we designed our house around a roof. Did everybody hear that? We designed our house around a roof. So we wanted a 40-degree pitch roof for winter solar production, and we wanted a 40-degree pitch, a 10-12 pitch, in order to shed snow. So once again, we designed our house around a roof. So, but still, even with that, we have problems during the December and January, depending on the amount of cloudy days. But overall, we produce twice as much as we consume. And as I said at the beginning, that this was the residence at Eagle Bluff that we did a deep energy reduction retrofit on back in 2011. And based on 1 year's energy data, once it was completed, we reduced the energy use in that home by 78%. You heard that right, 78%. So we became the 9th home in North America to document greater than 70% energy reduction. And we basically did it by super insulating the envelope. And when we're done, I'll have some more slides about that to give you some more information. These are the two builders. This is Jeff Valine from Zumbro Falls and his partner Joe Yenny. And we told these guys as we were doing this, we were going to bring in thermal imaging to make sure and find out where there were any leaks anywhere in the building before we allowed them to put the siding on. So they are fantastic builders to start with, and they were anal about caulking and sealing any crack in the insulation. You can see everything is taped, and it's done as well as it could. And we ended up, it's almost passive standards, which is unheard of for a remodeling project. We did solar hot water And if I had to do one thing over again, I probably would not do that. And we also did it because we were an environmental learning center as a teaching aid by having a college come in with their students and install this, and their installation skills um, could have been better. We'll talk a little bit about this, but having the builders and knowing that we're going to check the quality of the work really kept them honest. Not that they needed it; they're great guys to work with. So you can see the things that we have. It taught us the energy concepts, work with builders and producers, the thermal imaging, we did energy audits. So if you can't afford to build a house, if you can do an energy audit and find out what's the biggest bang for your buck, that's what everyone needs to start out doing, is doing an energy audit and figure out what can you do to improve where you live, and then buy the best product you can for the money. So this is a kind of a timeline of how it went on doing our building. We decided to build in December. In January, we found out that solar shingles were available in Minnesota, and we put money down on solar shingles, not having a location or a building. We then used Google Earth to identify 3 sites in Lanesboro that had solar potential. We talked to the landowners and ended up purchasing the most favorable site. And then we worked with a home designer and all this good crews to design the home. And then in May, we actually got around to getting going on the whole process. So conventional sort of building, the basement has ICFs, interconnecting concrete forms, which keeps the cold out and the heat inside, and is structurally sound. We have in-floor heating zones in the house. We have 5 of them. We have insulation underneath the basement floor to not heat all the ground below us. What it looked like when it was done. So it's a walkout basement. These are egress windows into the 2 bedrooms in the basement. So you can see everything in the basement. We used various different construction materials that are pretty much industry standards. We started off with warm board, which has our in-floor heating in it. And you can see it's tongue and groove, but this is a stamped aluminum panel over the structural wood, and the aluminum then dissipates the heat or cold across the whole panel. So you just don't have a hot spot here and a hot spot there. It warms up the whole panel. Our building crew was 4 Amish brothers, and they were just a hoot to work with. They were just fantastic on doing this. They were busy, but they wanted to do this house because they wanted to learn about solar shingles, and they also wanted to learn about battery storage. So kind of the fun of this whole process is that most of the contractors, because we didn't get around to May to start working with contractors, were basically booked for the summer, but added us on because they wanted to work with the technology we're trying to put in place. So zip sheathing is this green stuff. It basically has an impervious membrane on the outside, a structural wood for component, and then some sort of insulation depending on how much you want to put on the inside. You take all the joints and it gives you truly a waterproof exterior membrane. And then I grew up on a farm in Red Wing, and we ended up, there's a picture of the barn right here. We ended up taking down the barn about 12 years before we built the house and stored the barn siding and beams, and finally got around to using it in the construction of our home. So this is our east-facing deck with the barn decking on it. This is our breezeway, and you'll see photos of the interior of the garage. Also has the decking, and then we use some of the beams on a pergola off to the north. Heating and cooling. All right. So this is an Arctic air-to-water heat pump. Arctic is out of Canada. It's an air-to-water heat pump, so it's not air-to-air. Air-to-water is more energy efficient. It works down to 22 below. So it's been a very interesting system to have. We've got basically 3 winters under a belt, and it's worked really well. It's handled our heating and cooling. We have 5 heating zones in it, and our basement heating zones, because there's so much heat on the air handling system that's brought down in the basement, wasn't running enough that when we actually called for heat, one of the pumps was froze up. So I had to replace a pump, not because of overuse, but because of underuse. This is our Zender, which is a Swiss air handling system. And the air handling system is these like dryer vent ducts that are right into the stud wall. You can see them going out the top. And it has 2 replaceable filters that you can replace easily, usually on a quarterly basis. And then on top, it has an activated charcoal set of filters and HEPA filters. So the HEPA filters take out all those nice little things and all the nice little Canadian smoke that comes in that we don't want to breathe. So it's a very quiet system. The replaceable filters make it just inexpensive to have clean air going through your house 24/7, 365. We also have a carbon dioxide sensor to monitor, depending on how many people we have in the house, what speed do we want to run the air handling system at. We have a whole house dehumidifier, and the importance of this is because we have in-floor cooling, you heard that right, in-floor cooling in the summertime, that if there is a high dew point or high humidity in the house, we could have condensation on the floor. So the heating system has a humidity monitoring gauge that as the humidity in the house goes up, so does the water temperature in your cooling water, which is something that we don't want because we want to cool our house down. So this is what the function of the whole house dehumidifier is to take the humidity out of the air so we can have cold water cooling our house. Talked about the SPAN Smart Electric Panel, which cost about $2,000 extra. And it was one of those things you kind of wonder about, is it worth the money? And I want to tell you that this slide right here, I'm going to get rid of these, shows that one of the first months, I think we started using this in February, and this is March 17th, our backup boiler, which was supposed to be providing secondary heat, was running 66% of the time, and our Arctic heat pump was only running 8% of the time. And without this, I would have been clueless. We wouldn't have known that the backup boiler was set improperly. So we had to get it recalibrated, or we would have had just a tremendous electric bill for heating our home. So this paid for itself the first month. This is the SPAN summary data that you get of what did we do. So basically the house in the first year, and this is only February 15th on, so it's 10 and a half months, produced 42,000 kilowatts. It consumed 23,000. We got 8,000 from the grid. We exported 27,000. So you can get all this kind of data, and you can check your circuit at any point in time. So it has 3 different levels of, if your power goes out on this must-have, we would have 8 hours of power and 32 minutes just using those circuits. And any point in time, once you get a notice the power's out, you can add or drop circuits as you want remotely, wherever you are around the country. And if you want to have your whole house running, you got 2 hours. So depending on your battery charge, this has things that you can do to adapt how long your battery will last. We have some data that this summer we had the power go out at 7:30 in the morning. Our battery was at something like 13% when the power went off. The power was off for half an hour. The battery powered the whole house during the half hour. And when the power came back on, our battery was up to 18%. It had increased its battery storage while powering the whole house. So these are a Canadian access. So it's ACCESS access windows. they open in and they also open up as an awning window. So they're triple pane windows that are very energy efficient. When the Amish were building, they'd walk along the side of it with their shirt sleeves rolled up just to see if they could feel any cold air on the hairs of their arms. We did a blower door test when the house was complete, and you see at 50 pascals, we were 0.8 air exchanges. And that to be passive, you have to be 0.6. So we were 2/10 away from being passive standards, which we really weren't trying to do. And as I mentioned, we have this carbon dioxide sensor. So it gives us an idea what is the carbon dioxide in the building. So Mary and I are here by ourselves most of the time. Some of the times we have 2 to 8 friends over. We click up to speed 1 speed, and if we have 20 people over, we click up to the 3rd speed, and if we have more than that, we open the windows because our carbon dioxide levels go too high because the house is airtight. The solar shingles you can see both on the house and the garage. 32 kilowatts of power provided by that. It was an easy thing to do. They have these templates that they put down that puts the hangers in place, and then they just start putting the shingles down. The shingles are screwed onto the roof deck that has ice and snow melt onto it. And then these clips, there's a space on the bottom that clips into this, and they are easily to fasten on. And if you would have one that has a faulty problem with it, they can easily replace it, assuming that they can get up on the roof. So it took them a day and a half to do the installation. Greenway Solar was just fantastic to work with. We haven't had any issues, so I highly recommend them to anybody in the Midwest. These are the runs of the shingles that they have. If you're the electro engineer types, you can see there's 28 shingles in this run, 28, 20, 33 coming down here, coming down into the inverters, going out to the generation panel, the AC disconnect, the PV production, going into the gateway, which sends it off to the main service meter, back to the Powerwall, into the house, or into the smart panel. So we had 443 solar shingles that are 72 watts each. You got all the information here. So if anybody wants access to this, let me know and we'll send it off to you. This is the outside electric panels. So this is the gateway, if you will, consumption meter. There is a battery disconnect external. Here we go. This is our Powerwall backup. The Powerwall is 13.5 kilowatts in size, that you can set it to discharge down to whatever level that you want. So here you can see we have it set that it discharges down to 10% every night at this time. And then during the day it recharges. So if we turn our hot water heater off at night, this is where we said we've gone 3 days without any solar, but that was the hot water turned off. You can see that we can actually make it through the evening using just battery storage. However, we seem to like hot water. So for the most part, we don't do that, but it's possible. And then if there is a NOAA weather alert, the battery automatically charges to 100% and stays at that until the weather alert expires. So this is the solar shingles main test lab. It has 3 different screens: energy, impact, and settings. You can see where we were at on how much solar we generated on the individual day. And these are the settings on the Powerwall, how to do EV charging, your storm setting, what your utility plan is, Wi-Fi and other good things. So this is some data, and it has these 4 different screens that you can see. So what's circled is what's shown. This is the house. Started off not using battery, used a little battery. And then we're using grid power. The gray is grid power. Using solar power, back to battery and grid, So that was what the house used and where the battery came from. This is then solar power. Solar started off powering the house, powering the battery, house and battery, all going to the grid, back to the house and battery, and just the house. So 30% went to the house, 34% to the house, 6% to the battery, and 60% went to the grid during that particular day, May 2nd, a peak solar generation. We generated 234 kilowatts. This is just the Powerwall. We didn't make it through the night because our water heater was on, and then this is going off to the grid. Power coming in from the grid, power going out. So our net grid usage for that day was a negative 134 kilowatts. This is with the water heater turned off at night, so what the house used, what generated. So you can see we had a sunny morning and a cloudy afternoon, but this is what the water heater turned off. We can make it through the evening, and this is still, we end up selling 130 kilowatts to the grid. Monthly data. So this is when we started back when the backup boiler was sucking down a lot of juice, and we only had 44% of net input, and that is now running somewhere in the 80 and 90%, looking at where we are at today. This is what I was mentioning earlier. We had a battery outage, and you get this little notice that appears on your phone, on your app, saying there's a grid outage, you've got 1 hour battery backup left, reduce your power immediately. And as I said, it was partly cloudy day. The battery was down to 7% when the power went out. The house is using 1.9 kilowatts right now, and the shingles are providing 2.5, so it's providing 6 kilowatts more than we were using. And then, as I said, we have the SPAN smart electric panel, which automatically sheds load, but you can also do individual circuits as you determine remotely. Some of the data on an annual basis for the first year of this is production. So we're producing about 5,000 kilowatt hours in our peak summer months and down to about 1,000 during the winter months. Air conditioning is always the greatest expense and even in Minnesota, depending on the winter, obviously, still too. Then we added in grid export, grid import, just to see, here we are importing, and then back into the winter and exporting more in the summer. So this is our data after 2 years. Once again, another shot of the house. We generated 127 kilowatts. We used 56. The car used 15 kilowatts, and we exported 56. So with the car, we used somewhere between 100 and 175 kilowatts, depending on what month you're planning on. And what we're most interested in at some point in time is vehicle to home or vehicle to grid. Tesla calls it power share. If you're looking at our backup battery, if you remember, it's 13.5 kilowatts. We paid about 15 grand for that, or $1,000 a kilowatt. The battery we have in our car is 75 kilowatts. So you have a lot more battery power in a car for a cheaper price than you can buy batteries for your home. So we can get vehicle to home or vehicle to grid and get power sharing in place. That will be a great addition to homes in Minnesota during winter months when winter production is low. So this is already available on the Ford 150 Lightning pickups, and it's available on the Cybertruck. And supposedly the software is available on the newer versions of the Tesla cars, but it hasn't gone full release yet. I always interested when people ask, what's the ROI on your investment? And I always wonder, what's the ROI on their vehicle, their motorcycle? What's the ROI when you don't have power when the power goes off? What's the ROI when temperatures are too hot to work or there's droughts or higher food costs, yada, yada, yada. And basically, when we installed our installation back in 2022, it cost somewhere between $2 and $4 a watt for solar installations nationally. Our installation cost was $2.66. So Bill McKibbins basically said recently that the greatest way to address solar or global climate change is with rooftop solar, be that panels or shingles, just because you have a racking system that's available on your roof. And most European countries and the state of New York now are requiring solar roofs on all new installation. We added a pergola on the north side of our house using the old barn beams. And that basically completed the use of the old barn. We have, there's the air to water heat pump. We have an outdoor shower that we use during the summer months, and our Amish friends were most interested to see that, and it also keeps our dog clean. Mary stained the limestone, that's stamped concrete to look like limestone. And these are shiitake mushroom logs for our culinary delight. We have a rain garden, and it's really a trench that we put in that we are down somewhere between 18 inches to 4 feet down to solid bedrock where we built our home. So we wanted to keep the water coming off our roof and from around the site on the site and not send it downstream for our downhill neighbors. So we put in this trench and I've seeded it down to prairie grasses, and it will hold at least a 5-inch rain before there's any runoff, and then it goes both ways, providing more irrigation and water to the trees on the nearby hillside. We have a very small amount of lawn that we mow, and basically most of our lawn is a short grass pollinator prairie.
Joe, are you still there?
It appears not.
I will give him a quick call and see what happened on his end.
Yeah, his face is frozen in the gallery, so his internet probably dropped. Ted, how was the spaghetti? Sorry, you're muted, Ted.
That was a huge storm that came through here. Knocked all the power out. That doesn't happen very often. I got a guy 6 houses down who's got one of those Generac generators. My God, that thing is loud.
Joe said he realizes that he's off and he's coming back up now, or he's trying to.
Yeah, I think the storms were coming up from the south, so he probably got whacked by that somehow.
There's a major solar event happening this coming Sunday down at Graco Park. And the event is pretty much outside. And I've been thinking about that quite a bit because, you know, if it's not a sunny day and it's a rainy day, it's going to be. But the event is put on by Bill McGibbon, who you heard Joe mention, and also the fact that they are having over 400 sites around the United States that are doing that the same day, and it's in 47 states. So it's really a massive effort to make people more aware of solar and the potential of solar and energy efficiency and that type of thing. So if anyone wants to check it out, it was on our newsletter, and also you can just Google it. It's called Sunday, 2 words, and it's a short event. It goes from 1 in the afternoon till 3, and all kinds of entertainment, speakers, what have you. A lot of people tabling. MRES is going to be tabling there. So if you have a chance to come down, it should be a fun thing. Hopefully it won't rain.
Just looked at the weather forecast, and it looks like you're going to get lucky that way.
Yeah, it looks like it's right up against it. Sunday morning could showers, but the other thing that's kind of interesting. There is a group that actually Bill McGibbon also started. It's called the Third Act, and it's a group of people that want to work on environmental things, solar in particular, and it's for people that are retired, 60 years or older, and I think they might let in a few others that are less than 60, but the main thing is to give an outlet to retired people that they can go out and make a difference and get involved with the solar and everything. So it's it's a really good event. There are some states, like we're having maybe 1 or 2 events in Minnesota, and some states are having 3 or 4. But anyway, it's to hit 47 states is pretty amazing. Maybe I should give them another shout here.
Peter, this article in Mother Jones, have you read it? What's he talking about there? Turn on your audio.
The answer is the current state of affairs in conservative America and how there are some small pockets of renewable energy in deep red places, like, I guess, deep red states. Briefly, it's what it's about.
Okay.
And that's one thing that's covered in there. Well, I guess Texas has lots of wind energy and pockets of renewable energy movement in some deep red areas. That's among the things covered in the article.
That's good.
Does he mention wind? What's happening with wind? Is that part of the renewable?
I think he did. It's been a few weeks since I read it, but I think so. Renewable energy.
Peter, was it small wind or big wind?
Good question. I'll find it. I can find the article and right now, if you have time. But
yeah, there's quite a bit of activity now in the wind side with vertical axis turbines, and not just the one egg beaters that we used to see, but a new design that they've got that really seems to work well for in town kind of things, and some of the wind tunnels that are in big cities, they said. So
So they're actually placing them in cities, so they're safe, they're allowed, huh?
Yeah, they're it's in the early stages, but it really sounds great that, because they're saying people even in the country are much more accepting of these new turbines than the great big blades, flipping around out there and everything. And I guess they're quieter. Hey, Joe, you're back.
I am. Sorry about that.
Oh, thank you for coming back.
So much for technology, huh?
Yeah. Mark was just commenting, we had a storm go through the cities here and knock some power out, and his name was it a neighbor, Mark, that had one of the outside generators that's super noisy?
Yeah, they have a Generac system, and like I say, 6 houses away, it's loud. I'm glad I'm not living right next to it.
Huh.
So I was pretty much through with the Google Slides presentation, and I just wanted to, with the time left, show you what the deep energy reduction retrofit was. So this was the residence at Eagle Bluff that we uh, ended up remodeling, and you can see we had all kinds of woodpecker damage.
Oh,
It had cedar siding, and the woodpeckers used to just love and come and drill that. To my dismay, uh, located on a bluff, great views out the windows. It was a fantastic place to live, but it was built before the energy crunch. So it had 7 sliding glass patio doors. It was called Rue Chalet. It had an overhang over the north facing windows. Why the hell even have a window there? Um, so it had a pit, a sunken living room, which was great when we had little kids because we just roll them in and they'd stay there. But as far as being functional, uh, having an adult life, it didn't work out that well. So when we did the retrofit, it turns out that this house is a cap home. It's a prefabbed house that was brought in, and they poured the concrete foundation 6 inches short on the west end and 3 inches short on the north end. So we had a 6 inch overhang here and a 3 inch there. Prevailing winds are from the west northwest, and our heating system, hydronic heating system pipes were located right up here above that.
Oh, jeez.
So every time we had a blizzard, those pipes would freeze up and either rupture or burst, which made living there interesting. So when we did the reduction retrofit, we put in new footings all the way around the house. We corrected the 6 inch overhang here and added 6 additional inches of insulation, and 3 and 6. So we have 9 and 12 inches of extra insulation around the basement. You talk an improvement on the energy efficiency of the basement, let me tell you, day and night.
Wow.
So there it is. And we were looking at trying to do thermal heat storage. We were trying to put something like a big bulk tank or some water storage thing here where we could take extra summer heat and store it for winter consumption. But we couldn't find any storage system that was energy efficient enough in order to store the heat for long periods of time and still get a payback. So we ended up filling that in. But here we are, we're truing up the 3 inches to add the 6 inches. We eliminated glass doors to the north here, patio doors. So this is our 6 inches of XPS along the exterior being added. There's my toes, holding everything in place. And we have an exterior deck that is no longer cantilevered off the house, so we don't have a thermal drainage coming off of that. And every seam, as I said, was caulked. They were overlapped. The builders are just fantastic on doing a great job of sealing everything up. The main wall with all this glass right here was basically had a 3/4 inch gap underneath it, where it was basically freestanding. It was hanging off the roof. So we ended up correcting that.
Wow.
We took out this window to the north. We took out these two windows to the north, and we ended up adding a window to the south. So it was somewhat of a sacrifice to take away the tremendous view upstream, but we ended up getting a functional window to the south. And you can see these were Lowen, another Canadian company, triple pane windows that we ended up installing. Made it a little bit brisk living at the house at this time of year. So you can see there's the windows gone. Installation on the south side. So window gone here, two windows gone there. Insulation on the bottom. So this is a thermal insulation being put in. We put in 2 inches of closed cell foam on all the rafters and stud walls, and then added XPS over that, which basically gave us pretty much sealed up the whole house. I don't recall what it did to the RV, and this is kind of like, this is back where we were back to making sure that everything was done the best it could be. So I said we had solar thermal, we had 11 kilowatts of photovoltaic panels off site here. This ended up being a mounted grid to the south, or a mounted deck to the south.
Joe, is this the house you and Mary were living in?
Yeah, at Eagle Bluff.
Wow.
So this is where we kind of cut our teeth on energy efficient building. And like I said, we lived in it during the remodeling, which might have not been the wisest thing. Blower door test there. Before we did we did a blower door test before we did the remodeling, and it would have been the equivalent of having the patio door standing open 6 inches, 24/7, 365. The house was so leaky. So if you heard me say 6 inches on a patio door, you heard it right. It was a very leaky house. So there we are at 50 pascals. What it looked like with the siding on.
And that's still being used nowadays, right?
That's correct. So that the current director of Eagle Bluff resides in the house now. This was the grand opening. So I don't know if any of you knew Ray Schmitz, who was active in Rochester, various different things here, and some of the other builders. So it was an interesting experience that helped us do the building of this house. I thank all the people that have been involved in the process. We enjoy the house we live in. As Doug said, we have a QR code out in the driveway, so people in their cars can actually scan the QR code when they're driving past, and it takes you to the video that you saw. About once a month, we probably get someone who is brave enough to walk in, and say hello, because in like the MRES and ASES stated in solar tours that you have a lot of people that are interested in the concepts, and you have a small percentage of people that are really ready to build, are ready to lock and load and really want to get the best answers that they can. So it's people that are ready to lock and load that really want to kick the tires and see what it looks like. We have a display in the basement that has the solar panels that you can touch and feel, or solar shingles. They're made out of fiberglass, all the building materials we use. So drop-in guests are welcome. at any point if you're down in Lanesboro. We live on what's called Church Hill, which is if you come down the hill coming in from the west from Fountain, you just go straight ahead, and we're sitting at the top of the end of Elmwood, and you can't go any further once you get here.
And if you're a bicyclist, it's a wonderful place to visit.
So I think that would, if anybody has any questions, I can maybe go back through and sign some other photos or answer anything that anybody had. Sorry about the power outage or the shutdown. I mean, the whole system went down. Oof.
If people want to ask questions, please just, raise your hand, use the activity on the screen to do that so we can call on you. Joe, I've got a quick question to start out. After all the work you've done and all the things you guys did right, is there anything that you would do different now or any other technology that would add to what you already did?
Great question. I hate it when people ask that. So I was dreading the building process, and we had a home design person that we liked who did a great job on designing the house. And I think about the only thing we would do is we would add 2 inches onto our master bedroom and take 2 inches off the living room space. We wanted a small bedroom because we really wanted to limit our activity in the bedroom, which is most people recommend. But it turns out that 2 inches would have been gave us a little bit more wiggle room to negotiate around. The other thing that we're doing,
All right.
to answer your question more specifically, is that we are adding a chiller, a fan coil on the ground floor, on the main floor, that will help remove humidity and add chilling in addition to the in-floor system. So like I said, the in-floor system is controlled by the humidity in the house. And on hot days with people coming and going in and out of the house, it's really hard to control. And this fan coil will be installed in front of the other system. So it will always have access to the cold water at its coldest temperature, which will be able us to remove a lot more humidity from the house as time goes along.
Okay. Did you guys consider a ground source heating or anything when you did this?
I think we learned from our other process that if we wanted to put more money into anything, it would be into photovoltaic panels or shingles.
Okay.
And then the air to water heat pump, I think is in my opinion, a better deal than ground source water, just because we're only 2 to 4 inches down to bedrock.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Will the,
Chris, go ahead.
will the water heater does the water heater keep up with your needs? Do you just have 2 people in the house, and would it work for a family?
So I forget what the water heater size is, Chris, but it's big. And it was offered by our local electric cooperative, and we participate in their shut-off programs. So I think our water heater is only actually on about 6 hours a day, and it's not during peak alert times, but it has a large enough reservoir that it provides the heat that we need easily for the 2 of us. And we've had probably 7, 8 people living here, for a weekend, and never any complaints about lack of hot water. So I think we're doing all right.
But it's not a heat pump hot water heater, right?
It is not.
Okay.
I thought the return on that was not longer than what I wanted.
Uh-huh.
Mary, I see you had a question in chat about the system. Do you want to ask Joe about that?
Okay, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. I've been trying for many years. I've contacted many plumbers to see if someone could install an Arctic heat pump for us, and I haven't found anyone who was willing to do it. My problem is we built a sustainably built tight house, and there are a couple of people here who know about our house in Lake Elmo. We did put the piping in the basement floor, and it's all tight and ready to go. We have a full heating system, but I was really interested in seeing how it would work to have air to water in the basement, and whether it would be possible for that to even heat the whole house, which is 2 stories. It's a walkout basement and a main floor. And our air changes per hour was at 0.3.
Okay. So what we have, Mary, our house is 1,640 square feet on 2 floors.
Okay.
So we have a complete full basement, and the Arctic heat pump, like I said, rated at 2.5 tons, basically handles that easily, heating and cooling.
But do you have piping in both floors or just in the basement?
On both floors.
Okay, yeah, that's the problem. We didn't put any on the main floor.
Okay.
So I didn't know whether maybe with heat rising, whether.
Or you could do what we're doing, Mary, and put in a fan coil on the main floor.
Okay. The other thing is we are completely insulated. We're insulated. We have 6 inches of insulation under the slab, and the footings are also insulated.
Good. Good.
So, but what I'm wondering is, how did you find an installer?
You know, I have a son in St. Michael, and he had the same problem that you had. And like I said, the funny thing was, we went out and we talked to the contractors in the area and said, we're doing all this stuff. And the HVAC guy said, you know, we're busy for the summer, but we really want to put in the Arctic air to water heat pump. You know, they added us into an already full schedule. So I don't know, we must have crazy people that live in southern Minnesota or something like that.
What was the company name?
The company name it's now called Kingsley Mercantile, and it's out of Harmony, Minnesota.
Could you say it again?
Kingsley.
Kingsley.
Yeah, Kingsley. Just Google Kingsley and Harmony, Minnesota. And the installer guys are just fantastic to work with.
Joe, as far as people involved, how did the Amish carpenters, were they excited about what it ended up? I mean, do you think they'll be trying to do some of that in their own community?
Yeah, definitely. I think they are very concerned about not being able to see their reflection in windows, so they don't like large windows. They like windows broken into smaller segments. So if you could get a segmented window, fine. But they were interested in the zip sheathing, and they were interested in the warm board for in-floor heating. Obviously, the solar shingles and the battery backup. So most of them have battery backup. So they have limited electric capability, and they have battery backup. We do a Amish tour offered out of Lanesboro, and we were at an Amish home the other day, and they had a trailer that had a solar panel mounted on it with a battery attached to it, and they were doing a crock pot cooking of something.
Okay.
You know, so they use the technology that's out there on a limited sort of basis.
Okay.
I haven't talked to them since. Like they really like the outdoor shower. They've all brought their wives and family here to see the facility when it's done. So we
Oh,
actually have a blacktop driveway, and you can see buggy tracks on blacktop, and it's on a hillside, and the horses have shoes on it, so you can see where the horseshoes have gone down the blacktop where the horses are skidding. So I mean, it's been it was a great experiencing working with the Amish builders. Um, um, so yeah.
They do have a great reputation. The other thing I wanted to ask you is, what about your local co-op? I mean, producing that much energy back to them, is that, I mean, are they comfortable with what's going on, or?
So we are part of Lanesboro Public Utilities, which buys power from My Energy, which used to be Tri-County Electric, which provides power for two southeast counties in Minnesota and two northeast counties in Iowa. And they now have a policy that when you do solar installations, it can be no more than 105 to 110% of your anticipated future electric needs. So does that make sense to you? So the generating or the distribution cooperative that our public utility buys power from limits how much you can do. But our utility in town, which is all urban, is looking for power and put in a solar field in town. So they're looking for more power if they can within the community. We had to upgrade the power line to take our power back out to a larger line in order to put our system. So we had to pay to do that ourselves.
Awesome. Yeah, I was wondering because, Excel and some of those, I mean, I think their standard is like 120% of what you used last year kind of thing.
Right. Yep. So yeah,
So,
we have a lot more than we use. So I mean, the nice thing about that for us is it pays for our monthly sewer and water bill. So I mean, it's on we produce twice as much as we use, and we just get net metering offset, and it pays for our monthly sewer and water bill.
I was allowed to do 200%, just FYI.
where was that at?
In Woodbury, Minnesota.
Oh, really? And you're on Excel?
Yeah, I'm on Excel and I've got two EVs, and they used to dick around with, 120%, but then you could put in for a special, bump if you had EVs, and then they decided to just go 200% flat.
wow.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Phil, we'd really like to talk to you about the solar home tour if you're
Yeah,
interested.
I'd like to get on it all 3 days.
Yeah.
Just come
I've
down.
got trackers in my backyard as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think we've talked in the past. Joe, I wanted to ask you, there's a guy down in La Crescent, I think it is, that has a geodesic dome, and it's like a bottle house. It's got, or not bottles, but glass in all the walls of different bottles. I mean, and when I visited him a couple of years ago, that was his, going away place. He lived in Chicago, and he could monitor the temperature, and I mean, do all kinds of things from Chicago and then come to his place. Have you ever seen that place?
I haven't in a long time. I saw it in the early stages, maybe under construction, but not since.
Okay.
Yeah. So it kind of sounds like an Earthship, out in the
Yep.
Taos or wherever.
Yep. A little bit like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have questions? We got about 5 minutes, and we're going to have to let him go. It's been awesome.
I am curious about the air exchange system and how much power that draws per year.
Well, Phil, I can hold on once. I can tell you. I think
Perhaps it's one dedicated breaker on your smart load system.
that's what I'm looking for.
Bill, did you have a system like Joe, a smart breaker system?
No, my panel was full. It was 150 amp service, and so they twinned off the inlet to add 22 panels to the roof. But I already had two trackers in my backyard, so basically have a 2006 system and then a new 2024 system.
Oh, okay.
So
And
far, right
Blue
now,
Raven did mine, for Tesla.
Okay.
right now, it says from January 1st to September 18th, our system has used 152 kilowatt hours, or 0.9%, not 1%, 0.9% of our overall home consumption. So our largest use is the car charging. The heating system is second. Water heater is third, and then, everything else after that's just kind of like miscellaneous.
Okay, thanks. That's very low.
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't it nice to have access to information like that?
Yeah, it's great.
That is just amazing.
Yeah.
Well, if there's no more questions, we'll let Joe go. Joe, thank you so much for doing this. And it's just been super. I mean, I was so impressed with your place and I wanted to share it with more people. And so hopefully we've got this on video now and we can share it in different ways. And we'll, and like you and I talked earlier, if you can get yourself signed up for the MRES tour, that'd be great. So we'd appreciate it. And give Mary our best, and thank you. And you guys have a great evening. Okay.
Will do. Thank you. Thank you all. Come visit when you can.
Yeah, thanks.
Wait a minute. Kim just put the link to the sustainability tour in the chat. Before you close it down, you might want to copy that.
Okay, yeah, I've just logged into MRES, so I'm on the page for signing up. Thanks.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And MRES people, we're meeting in about 15, 20 minutes for the board meeting. So again, thank you, everybody. And next month, I think I have another exciting speaker for us. So we'll see you then. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Right.